Good evening. Welcome, everyone. This is Pamela Marie Edmunds, and this is Love Never Dies radio show. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to see some new faces. It's new faces, old faces. It's a combination. I am your host, medium, Trance Channel, animal communicator, pet detective, teacher. The list is getting longer. Isn't that great? And tonight, Love Never Dies. It's a wonderful name that was given to me. It's been a couple years now. And it's all about the ways we connect with spirit, about the afterlife, our experiences with the spirit side of life, but also about us growing and learning, because we are spiritual beings. And it's interesting, and I've been saying this a lot of times now to different people I see, because I do read on a regular basis, do some phone calls, do readings in the shop, one of the shops here in Sedona. Our home is the spirit world. Take that, think about that. We are merely visiting this plane, the earth, to learn and to grow. That's a big bite, isn't it? And welcome, Suzanne. Great, good to see you. I'm just starting. So tonight, I had asked my guides, how about some topics? Could give me help, some topics. And what I heard was, meditate on it. I'm like, okay, meditate on it. And I got a list. And the one I was drawn to most is what tonight's show is about. And the title being, and I'm trying to remember, give me a moment, I haven't got it written down here. And I'm very connected to spirit when I'm working on the show here. So please bear with me, is why did you have to leave so soon? And I'm talking about a mother's daughter, a mother's son. I'm talking about a child that's passed in the womb. I'm talking about a friend. When we talk about life here on earth, the earth plane, especially now, I know for a fact there's someone here who's got a father who's in his 90s, right? Okay. And I'm also thinking there's somebody else, if she comes in tonight or she listens to this at another time, who is looking after her 100-year-old mom. So we have the capabilities now of living a long life, don't we? Medical, health, change diet, exercise is a whole thing, whole long list. So why do certain people leave us early? And I'm going to put it that way because it affects us tremendously. And to start off, I'm going to just share my story a little bit, okay? Some of you may have heard some of this, some of you may not. In my late teens, my mother had breast cancer. She was 41. Okay. Hi, Patty. Great to see you, honey. Mom was 41. And this was back in the early 70s. Medicine wasn't where it is now. Sadly, she crossed over. And I wasn't awake to the belief in an afterlife. Okay. I wasn't awake to being a spiritual person and understanding that everything happens for a reason, right? Okay. And I really took it pretty hard. Yeah, look at my mom. She and I had issues, but then again, she was my mom. I loved her. Okay. And the other piece is I was pregnant with my only child, her first granddaughter, Sandy. And so I was hoping that she'd be there for me when I had the baby, right? Well, she was supposed to leave. And then, let's see, 2 years later, 3 years later, give me a minute, 75. Mom crossed in 71. 4 years later, a younger sister of mine at the age of 18, I believe she was, took her own life. Okay. I knew she'd been troubled. I tried to help her. We tried getting her help, but it wasn't meant to be. She was meant to cross. Now, she and I were like this. In a family of 5, I'm number 1, she's number 2. Now, what I want to say to you is, it took a few years for me to actually awaken to the spiritual side of life and understanding things that happen around me at another higher level. Okay, is everybody understanding me where I'm going here? And comprehending that there was a purpose. Well, my mom passed from cancer, breast cancer. My sister took her life. Well, the underlying current of that was that we all had a very difficult upbringing. And the message from both of those 2 losses of mine was for them to tell me, Pamela, if you don't work on yourself, then you could either be dying from cancer or you could be wanting to kill yourself because of it. Okay. That's what I saw that was a gift from them passing at such an early age. And what I want to say is on the soul level, and we're going to talk soul level quite a bit here tonight, because where the soul is the part of us that's closest to God, right? Okay, if I use the term God, higher power, universal energy, whatever you want to call it. And that energy is what we are striving to be as close as we can to and be a part of as much as possible, right? So part of the soul lessons that I had with my mother and with my sister passing so early was for me to forget it. Okay, Pamela, let's go work on yourself. All right. Yes, I will admit I did have breast cancer, but I also want to say I have done tremendous amount of work healing and clearing the hurt and the pain that I took on as a young girl. So do you kind of understand why Mom and my sister, or at least I do, left so early? It was kind of like, we're talking to you, Pamela. This is the message we're trying to give to you. Okay. And the other part, and I feel this other part is important for many people listening. The loss of a loved one from a young age or untimely is also an awakening call for us to awaken more to the spiritual component of who we are. Can I get any nods? People getting that too? All right. And I'm going to say, Clary Ann, I think you can acknowledge this because I know you've written one book and at some point being nudged to do more. You're doing work with a group called Signs from Our Loved Ones, helping people grieve. You wouldn't be doing that if you hadn't lost a son in the way that he did. I know it was hard. I know it was difficult, but look at the gifts that have come from it. Part of his purpose of crossing when he did was to help you and his father to awaken spiritually. Okay. And how about you, Judy A, in the corner over here? Can you unmute? Please unmute your mic. I know you've had a recent loss.
I have.
Right. Yes, it hurts. It's painful. You've got to go through that loss of the physical person, your sister. Yeah, isn't she helping you grow more spiritually again?
Oh, I think always, before her death, since her death, yes, definitely, definitely. And, you know, she lost her son about 2 years ago, a couple of years ago.
Ah, and you know what? I bet you that loss of that son helped her to get ready for her crossing.
I think so too, yes, definitely.
Is this all making sense for people? There's another level. And I want to also thank you, Judy. I also want to go to, and I hope you, I know certain people here who've lost people, and I also don't know some people who have lost individuals. Lori, you're in the dark. Are you available to say hello? And if not, that's okay. All right. Who else would like to talk on this subject? Do you see? It's like we come into this planet and we connect with those people who are part of our soul group, right? Maybe this is a little bit new language for some people, but please be open, okay? Now, how many people of you feel like, oh, I know this person, right? You feel very comfortable with certain people in your life. Those are soul connections, right? And they opted to come in to help you in certain ways for you to grow, not always, but also for them to grow. So we're going to go to like someone, I think I posted something like a child crossing before it's even walking. All right. What's the lessons of that? Well, that child is very likely an old soul coming into, and I think Patty, I believe Patty, you lost a young granddaughter, okay? And I bet you there's been a lot that's been learned from you that's catapulted you to learn more spiritually, but also her family. Am I right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. She was only 5.5 months old when she passed. When my daughter was pregnant with her, they did some extensive genetic testing, but they found out she had a condition called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Only half of her heart had developed in utero. So there are some procedures. There's 3 operations for babies like that after they're born. They can have from birth, they have an operation, then again around 3 to 6 months, and then again at age 2 or 3. But she had other issues besides the half a heart. She had some lung issues and et cetera, et cetera. But God bless her. I mean, she withstood the first operation. She was wonderful. The second operation, I actually have a little picture here. Wait a minute. The second,
that would be wonderful.
This is my mother holding her. Now, I just lost my mother. You know that.
Oh,
this is Valerie. This is little Valerie.
uh-huh.
She went through 3 operations by the time she was 5.5 months.
Uh-huh.
And she survived all the operations. In the end, it was a blood infection is what took her life.
Uh-huh.
But even my daughter's the strongest person on earth that I know. Where she got her strength from, it wasn't me. I'm an emotional person. But she says, no, she gets some of it from me. But she wanted to give that baby every chance. The doctors kind of encouraged her to end the pregnancy when they found out. And she said, no, she had had many miscarriages prior. She said, if God wants me to have this baby, I'm going to give this baby every chance. And she did. She was a beautiful baby. And I always felt she was an old soul. When I looked into those eyes, when I'd go visit them, when I looked into those eyes, I felt the connection I felt was just like, I felt like we were drawing towards each other's eyes, looking at each other. Unconditional love is what I believe it was. And she always was smiling, always had a beautiful smile on her face. My daughter, like I said, is a very strong person. I was terrible through the whole thing when it happened, because like I said, I'm very emotional, but she has this strength that's just amazing. I believe the baby was an old soul. And there was a connection because I almost felt like she looked similar to my aunt that had passed a number of years ago.
Yep.
And I believe that she chose my daughter and my son-in-law to be her parents and me to be her nana because she touched all of our lives. My daughter said, at the funeral, my daughter said, Valerie taught us more about love than anybody else ever could. It was amazing. I mean, I miss her. I always wonder what she would have been like if she had grown up and had that opportunity, but she chose to come here for a short time and she did. And God bless her. And we loved her so much, you know?
Yes. And I want to let people know here and I think a couple of us who were around work of spirit or around religion called spiritualism have heard this before. When a child crosses to the spirit side of life, they grow up over there.
Yes.
And maybe they've got a grandparent or a relative or another group of individuals who are there for them to help them through the process. So what year did Valerie cross over? Do you remember?
She was born July 1st, 2011, and she died Christmas Day, 2011. Just on Christmas morning, early Christmas morning. Yeah.
So then she would be 11 years old. 11,
It would be like 10. Yeah. 10 years old.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. On the other side. So she's a tween. I think they call it now, which I think is kind of cute, a tween.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't communicated with her. I know you do meetings.
Yes.
Right.
She's come through several times over the years. Yeah.
So being an old soul, that's come up a couple times, and I'm not sure if everybody understands the terminology, and I'm going to share it here the way I understand it. And if it feels right for you, please take it. If it doesn't, please don't take it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When we come into this planet, we incarnate over and over again. Old souls have been doing it for not just 10 times, probably hundreds of times. And each time we come back in, we're taking on a more difficult lifetime, more challenges, so we can grow our soul to a higher level, meaning come closer to the light, be close to God. Okay. So little Valerie clearly had a very tough time. What she experienced, she was unhealthy, she was going through issues, and she just wasn't meant to be here. But she was meant to touch upon the people that she came into. And that was where a lot of the growth also came. So, making sense to people, okay? Who else would like to talk? Because I know, Claire Ann, I touched on you real quick. Huh? Do you by any chance have a picture of your dear honey in spirit?
Right, of course.
Of course, somewhere. Handsome boy.
Can you see that?
Yep. And this, oh God, I'm having a blank. I don't believe it.
Graham.
I'm blanking, Graham. I'm blanking out on his name. And Clarion, I've known for probably 10 years. Yep. And worked with her different sides. So, and Graham was what, 22? Yeah. And he had an accident and crossed over. Very traumatic, right?
Yeah, because he died instantly in that crazy fall,
Okay.
his senior year of college.
Yet, where are you at? You're a totally different person since then, aren't you?
Probably so.
And he helped you, didn't he?
Well, I wouldn't be where I am today without his constant help and comfort.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, those poems alone, Pamela, that just, a year and a half of writing those was just so cathartic, and it just connected us so, and
Mhm.
just so
Could you
comforting.
Could you explain for a few people who have never heard this before about your poems?
Yeah, about a year and a half after Graham passed, I had the words "only son, treasured one" go through my mind. And I just thought, well, I'm going to write that down. And I think it was because you always hear people saying it's helpful to journal. So every now and then I would, try to write some stuff, but I don't think I ever really thought it was just really that helpful. But now I know that it was. But I would sit there and I would just cry and say, I miss you, and all that. But if I hadn't done that every now and then maybe I wouldn't have thought to write those words down, right? So when I wrote those down, I continued writing, and I just thought I was journaling, but I had no idea until I finished writing and I looked what I had written, that I'd just written a poem. No clue. So I was just like, well, this is, really different. And that night when I lay down to go to sleep, my mind just kept going, and I had more words go through my mind. So I got up, went downstairs to the kitchen, sat at the table, and I wrote out 2 more poems. And then it was just like the floodgates opened, and over the next 18 months, I wrote over 200 poems that turned into a book, A Mother's Tears. And I had no thought of a book, that all was just the way it evolved. And then it got to be where I felt like I was supposed to do that. At first I thought the poems, were for me, but then I would share them with some friends, and people would say, well, are you going to, write a book? And I said, well, I don't think so. But yeah, you just never know. And it was, he passed in 2007, and Guy Dussault started Signs from Our Loved Ones, a Facebook group, in 2011, I think. And I was somehow he was guided to a friend of mine. I didn't even really do Facebook, but a friend of mine did Facebook, and she said, there's a new group. It's called Signs from Our Loved Ones. I think that you ought to do it. And I thought, well, I don't know, but I ended up doing it. And a couple months later, a guy who didn't know me messaged me and said, would you consider being an admin for the group? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, what's an admin do? And he said, well, you just, welcome people in and, sign them up, because he was still working and he didn't want people to have to wait, till the end of the day. So I thought, well, oh, okay. And I think this, but our joke is, he said at first he thought if he would get like 500 people, that would be really something. And when I checked yesterday, there's an open group and a closed group. Pamela, you're not going to believe this.
What, dear?
We have over 638,000 members now. It's just keeps going and going. So I've ended up over, like 10 years or so, I spend hours and hours every day sharing some of my poems, making comments, deleting spammers. It's a lot of work.
Comforting people. You're comforting people, right,
Yeah.
hon?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yes, you are. And so is everybody getting the concept of why this topic came up for a show? It is so huge. Clearly, you and Graham are very strongly soul connected, aren't you? I believe you even come to believe that you're twin flames, right? Yeah.
Which I'd never heard of. And I had no clue about any of this stuff, but once you kind of delve into these things, it does seem like a lot of it makes a lot of sense.
Awesome.
And it helps explain why everybody grieves with a passing, but they're different degrees, I think. And I think a lot of that depends on the kind of soul connection that you have, right?
Yeah, yep. And you know, and I've noticed simply that a loss, that person is going to start growing spiritually somehow. And look at how far you've gone, and you're still going, right?
Yes. Although, Pamela, you know, on the flip side, some people stay mired in their
That's yeah.
and
That's
they
true.
can turn bitter.
Well,
So it's a huge lesson in spirituality of choices and what you do.
yep. Well, yeah, and you know, our loved ones, and I want to say too, I do believe we have certain times that we're supposed to exit. We don't necessarily know when they're going to be. And someone had shared with me at one time, and it makes kind of sense. We have various death doors that we can choose to take. And I mean, yeah, death is a reality for everybody, right? And these are subjects that need to be talked about. Thank you, Claire, it's awesome to see you here.
Good
And
to talk to you and to see you.
thank you,
And,
sweetheart.
Say
And
hello
Graham
to Sherry and Terry.
yep, and Graham is definitely there with you. I want to say as we're talking. Who else would like to talk and share questions or sharing that? Oh, I get that, or I understand that. Lori, you've had a few losses along the way, honey, haven't you?
Yeah, just a few.
Okay.
Just a few. Clarion, happy retirement for your husband.
Oh, wonderful.
Well deserved.
Awesome. Great to hear
Sure.
that. Do you relate how some of this might relate to you in some ways? Have you learned a lot of things on a soul level or depth here with some of these losses, or
Definitely. I would always say that I was aware. I wouldn't exactly say open.
okay.
But when Walter got sick, I was definitely saying, like, flinging the doors back. You know, I'm like ready now because I need to know everything. I'm his mother. I want to know what he's doing. I want to know what he's feeling, and I want to know where he's going. Want to know who he's hanging with. Not like it's even changed, you know, because I was doing the same thing when I could see him here. And my sister, who is she's born again. So not that
Okay.
there's anything wrong with that. I just have a problem with my sister.
Well, yeah.
And Pamela, and I wanted to say with Lori, isn't that a funny thing? Because Walter, he was in his 30s, right, Lori?
Yes.
And Graham was 22. So they're young adults. And yet I remember so clearly after Graham passed thinking, who's going to take care of my boy?
Yes.
You know,
I was like, because I was calling on guides to bring him because I didn't even want him to do that alone. It was like, no, he can't go by himself. Somebody's got to bring him because I can't. That's how, I don't want to say desperate, but that's the attachment you have with your kids. You can't let go.
No.
So,
no.
But, you know, I said to many people, if one person says to me, he's out of pain, he's in a better place, I will punch you right in the fucking face. Don't ever say that to me. Don't say it's God's plan. There's a reason why this happened, because there is nothing on the face of this earth that would convince me why he would have to suffer so horrible and go such an excruciatingly painful death at a young age. And the same thing with Graham and anybody
Except
who's
that
lost a
Graham
kid.
he was gone in an instant. So, I mean, thankfully he did not suffer. So it's a whole different kind of grief.
Well, and he got to the other side going, you know, what the hell, what happened? Why am I here?
Right.
You know, like, my God, my poor mother, what am I going to do? Because they still worry about us. That doesn't stop. So I said, I did tell my sister, I said, don't think that when it's my turn, I ain't going to be wagging my finger in the big guy's face going, WTF, what the hell was that all about? Because it wasn't fair.
Lori, what have you learned since Walter? Walter was your first major crossing, and I know you lost your mom, and I also know you're a caregiver for Dad.
Yes. And for anybody who doesn't know, sarcasm and a sense of humor will get me through anything. So my
Okay.
dad just had his leg amputated and he will have a prosthetic. So I said to him last week, so when I say to you, I am going to take your leg off and beat you with it, that will actually be the truth now.
And this is Lori's humor, and oh gosh, and a few weeks ago, and I was doing some mediumship, and Lori's mom came in from Spirit and was talking about Lori needed to be careful for her father that he didn't fall. I had no clue he had an amputation. And Lori and a couple other people were in stitches here while they were listening to it because they knew what had happened. And Lori piped up and says, "Well, I'm gonna have to get my dad a peg leg." One of my
Yes.
brother making a peg leg. Yeah.
So my brother is working on that. He goes, I got a table leg that I can adjust. He
Okay.
goes, but I don't have the measurements. And I said, next time he sees Dad, I'll measure his leg because we need a joke.
Right.
But yes, I mean, when Dad had his appointment last week, we saw the surgeon and he's got a sense of humor. You just have to find it. He's very professional. And whereas, I don't want to say gutter mouth, but I'm not going to beat around the bush if I have a question to ask you. So he took out a couple of stitches and then was cleaning up a pocket. It was gross of blood. And I said, oh my God, you have to warn patients when you're going to do that. Because he just like rammed right in there and cleaned it out. And I went, oh my God, you're going to do that again? He goes, yeah, I have to. I said, can I tell you something? He goes, yeah. I said, you would never make it as a gynecologist.
Oh, Jesus.
And me and my father were laughing. And I said, you're used to your patients like being under anesthesia and not feeling anything. He's still awake in the chair. And it's like, if I had a good foot, I'd be kicking you with it. But then I told my father his leg looked like a little manatee face. I said, it's
Right.
flat, it's fat, it's got a little face, with all the stitches and like with the creases, little eyeballs. And he's doing okay. We're trying to find a second
Good.
place for him, but
Good.
being open. What have I learned? I have learned to, when my son died, my cousin said, this is when you need to think and shut your mouth. No matter what anybody says, she said, because this is just when all the hurt and the hate will come out. So you need to be very careful what you say. And I thought, of all times in my life, you want me to think before I say something? I don't want to now. People would say, how are you? And I'd be like, what are you, stupid? I just lost my son. How could you ask me that question? Of course I'm not okay. Close friends, I could say that to. Crying my eyes out in the store, people just avoided me because they didn't know what was wrong. But I would say, believe it or not, I have learned a little bit of patience and to see maybe a bigger picture and to be more accepting of what's happening now. Do I still hate Walter's oncologist? Oh, hell yes. Oh, yes. And throughout my cancer journey, I thought if I ever had to see him, I told my oncologist, I said, if he's ever in the building, don't schedule me because I don't ever want to see him. And she looked at me and said, honestly, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would just be adult and walk by and then mutter under my breath, you're a dick. Or would I actually confront him face to face? I don't know. I have no idea. And of course, he wouldn't have any idea who Walter was because he was just a patient. He was a number. He was a medical form. He didn't care. But I have learned to listen to the messages I get.
Spirit.
And sometimes you wonder, is that am I just thinking that? Is that, and it's been very difficult to decipher between the two. So whether it's just my imagination, it's just a thought pops in your head, or was that somebody telling me something? So that's been one of the things that I've had to be quiet, which is not my strong point. We all know that. Patience, that's not my strong point either. And I was like, what lesson with the life that I've gone through and now dealing with dad, what am I supposed to be learning? Because I can't be going through all of this and not learn something. Because it all
Lori
has a
just
meaning.
said it, patience.
Well, I'm a yeller, and we grew up next to the airport. You always had to yell just so you could be heard
Okay.
or
Okay.
overheard throughout,
Okay.
the family.
Okay.
Everybody's loud, but it's I think it's a little bit of these are all little puzzle pieces for me to put together, and eventually I'll have the puzzle finished, and they'll give me a new friggin' test. So I'll learn what I
Okay.
can and
Okay.
go from there.
Lori, thank you, hon. I want to see if somebody else wants to talk. Because I know we had a few people who've had some early losses. I don't know there's a few new people here tonight that I'm not familiar with. Put your hand up if you want to say something. You want to share.
I put my hand up there, but I don't know if you've seen it.
I forgot. Yes. And it's dear girl, can I use your real first name?
Yes, you can.
Jody.
Yeah, it's Jody.
How are you tonight? I'm glad you joined us.
Oh, I'm doing okay. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Good.
I just wanted to say just a few words. Now, what my church teaches, I belong to the Mormon church. What they teach, I don't believe everything of their doctrines, but one thing I wanted to say is that people, to ask the question, why, do babies, die when they're young babies or young children or, young people, accidents, what have you? Why does this happen? And what my church teaches is that you actually decide that before you're born on this earth, because you existed before. And so that you decide that you want this to happen for the purpose of teaching others. And I've thought about that different times because my mother had a major stroke when I was only 7 years old, and she was never the same after.
Right.
And it really affected me. And I questioned why, because my mother was like the sweetest woman, ever. I mean, she was just, such a beautiful person. And why would it happen to her? So I questioned that. And, but now that I know there's reasons, I still don't know all the reasons, but I don't have the questions like I used to, like
Right.
even being upset with God, thinking because a lot of people would say, well, it was in God's plan. Well, I'm like, that don't make sense to me. But I've come to, my beliefs are probably different than what I get is different than maybe most people. So I'm not going to go into that, but my one husband who died young, and that affected me more than any other loved one's death ever. I mean, it took me a long time to get over that, and that is when I really started searching the meaning of where is the people, where do they go after death? And it was after his death that I did that. I went out in my cornfields here, and I just screamed, "Where are you, Sydney?" And I just kept yelling that, "Where are you?" And so that's when I started to read on the afterlife, and then that's shortly after that I got my spirit guide who helped me with that. And so with that, but it was, and so many people go through that, wondering, and then people that belong to certain religions, they have to believe what their religions teach, and but yet they don't want to believe that because it's not always encouraging.
Right.
Yeah, and my mother my mother was a Lutheran, and I can remember her saying once to me as a child, I don't know why, but I never forgot this. She said about our pets. One of our cats died, and she said, they say that animals don't have a soul. And she was so sad saying that. And I wish that I knew what I know now, that I could have told her back then, yes, they have a soul, Mom, you know, but so anyway, I just wanted to share the couple
Thank
little
you,
things.
Jody. And
Oh,
I'm
you're
glad you mentioned pets, because what I want to say, I want to say that basically they choose the time. There's a specific time when they join us. We either find them or someone brings them home. And then their time to leave. It's almost like they come in when we need them, but when they need us too.
Oh, I know that for a fact, having a lot of
Yes,
pets. All my life, I had a lot of pets, and I
right.
know that. And I have a farm, so I have barn cats, and sometimes they will have kittens outside, and it's just certain kittens that will come up to me, and I just know that cat's for me. That's how I got my cats I have inside now, my
Right.
my house cats. They
Yep,
came to me, and
yep,
they
yep.
knew.
And it's about their growth and it's about our growth too.
Oh,
So,
absolutely,
yep,
yes,
yep,
indeed.
right. And thank you for sharing. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you were able to resolve what you had going on at home so you could join us in. So anyway,
Oh, yes, it's nice to be here. Thank you very much,
great.
Pamela.
Thank you, dear. Who else would like to share? It's anybody else have a loss that they really were hurt bad about, and maybe it was seems like, gosh, that was too early for that person, or something else here. What has happened to you from a loss? Like, me being the oldest, I learned to be very independent. I learned to look after other people, not having a mother. Okay. And I learned some things that part of that wasn't healthy for me, but part of those gifts I work with now, helping other people here like I'm doing tonight with you people, right? And anybody else who's going to listen. If I hadn't lost my mother when I did, my life would have changed in some ways. And the same thing with my sister. She was caught up in some addictions. And yeah, I gravitated to people who were involved in addictions a good part of my life. But I've also now learned how to help them if they want help, if they're willing. But also, on the other hand, that their energy sometimes is difficult for me to be around, and people can understand. So if they hadn't crossed when they did, some parts of who I am now wouldn't have been the way they are. Can anybody else get that too for some other? And I do see a couple people that joined us. I see Nancy, but did you get Nancy Lawless? I'm looking, I see female there. I'm guessing you weren't working. You were able to tune in. Did you have something you wanted to share? I know you came in late here. Unmute yourself. I believe, yeah, and you're I believe you're in the UK, am I right?
I have a sibling there. but
Oh,
I'm
okay. I
actually
thought you were, okay.
I'm caulking and painting and getting a house that's ancient together. But that's when every time I go to come to one of these, and I've been doing mediumship for years, and I have clients. And what I actually want to do is, sometimes people want to work with a second opinion, or they want somebody, whatever. I love to just see different people, so I'm very secure enough to say, hey, I want you to try Pamela. I think you'll resonate with her.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
I'm not one of these competitive people. And we did have 4 or 5 losses, and my husband backed off because it's too fresh for 6, 7, 8 months with 4 or 5 people hitting the decks. And it's just, even as a trained therapist and everything, it's a little bit much to carry space. And my stepfather's alive. So, and my husband lost his son. It's just too much. And then, I get messages, but it's those sensitive things like that lady brought up. Never say to somebody it was their time.
Right.
And I'm in circles, and I stop some of these circles because I just don't enjoy it anymore. I don't want to practice. I don't need to practice. It's just nice to connect with people doing this work. And when they get the stuff that's so organic, it's lovely. It's very healing. And I just think that's the part, the memory or whatever it is that's relevant to the sitter, to the person. Like the topic comes up, and you brought the topic, and that's why I raised my hand. Did you lose a mother? My mom left me with a lot. She died on me. I'm furious. I love her, but you're not allowed to be angry with a person for, leaving you with a lot of. I've already been a caretaker, so it's okay. But it's just like you said, it brought you to have a level of facility, of skill, empathy, compassion, almost like a clinical lens. Oh, that's an alcoholic. Oh, that person's got sex addiction,
Right.
whatever it is.
Right. And I just want to add too, my mom was a nurse. Okay. Oh, it's like, and I'd seen a long time that I was going to be wearing a nurse's hat in a way, but it was going to be different. And so it's, and so Nancy, so you got your shingle out right these days, or
No,
you got the veal in to take care of yourself?
I'm word of mouth, which is lovely.
Okay.
And I was very intuitive, like just psychic. Even as a kid, my mother was, everybody was, but we're very private. I'm married to a private person, so I'm just word of mouth. So I won't do a page. I barely got a website up. So I'm just more about, if it's meant for me, it'll be. If I like my quality, I'm hard on myself. So if I don't like my evidence, or I don't feel spirit come like alive, and you do trance, and I've sat in a group for a couple of years, I enjoyed that. But if I don't I'm too hard on myself, and I just need to surrender some more sometimes.
Okay.
So what I like to do is give somebody, a lot of people have psychic stuff, but and so that's fine too. But I
Right.
like to be able to say, look, this lady's great, whatever. And I like to see and you didn't have an ego. If I may be blunt, I just felt like this woman's so nice. She's not into herself. Look at
Thank
me.
you.
And you're darned if you do, and you're darned if you don't. How do people find you?
Right.
So you got to put yourself out there. So I really
Yep.
appreciate it.
Can I just ask you, do you understand some of the soul levels of why certain people have come in or been there for you? Kind of like we've been talking?
I think, yes. And it's I think for lay people, I don't want to sound, this sounds terrible. I think some people have different belief systems, and it's like, there's so many nonsense, as in these colleges where people don't believe in this and they believe in that. But one time somebody said, so you're married? I said, yeah, 976 years we've been married. So it's not for everybody's mindset. So I'm always open to hear something new or refreshing. I mean, I've had some really
Okay.
great dreams and stuff, so I'm open. I just was I just liked you. I don't, when you just like somebody, I said, I like that lady. I could feel confident. And I
Thank
just
you.
sending somebody to her and they'll just get, it'll work. That's what I know.
And where are you talking to us from, dear?
I'm in the basement of
No,
an
no, no,
old
no.
house
What,
in
what
New York.
state?
New York. New York.
Okay, okay, you're in New York. Okay,
The burbs.
okay. The burbs. Okay, awesome.
And you're in Sedona, right? Are you you're in
Yes,
Arizona?
ma'am. My guides guided me out here 6 years ago. It's been a time of major healing for me. And me, becoming the best that I could be to help other people, myself. It's been challenging, but it's been awesome, if that makes any sense. And doing this work with all these wonderful people here who are with us today, it's a pleasure. And everybody has their experience, everybody has their learning, and they share it. And isn't that an important piece? Just like you sharing yours, where you've been at, what's been going on. And yeah, but thank you so much, Nancy. I saw you briefly. I didn't remember your bio or anything. I
No,
mean, yeah, and I hope you come again.
I will. And pets. People diminish pets, but you see your pet every day. That's all I want to say. Some of us love our animals too.
Well, and what I want to say, there are souls, and many of us who gravitate to some of these pets here, we've been with them before. That is so true. And I just want to say, my lovely pet that came with me cross country 6 years ago when I came out here from Massachusetts, Earth Angel. Sadly, he got sick when I got here. I had to put him down the next month. But learning from him,
Yes.
was huge. And he's the one who got me going with the animals. And he channels through me for the pet detective work. And I mean, I would never thought I'd be doing that.
I got to chill. And there's a heater underneath me. So I have that's lovely. That's
But it's part of the reason he came into my life. And I came into his. And this is what the whole focus of tonight's show is. Okay, yes, little Valerie, I'm going to use you, Patty. Little Valerie was what, 5 months old, I believe, correct? And sadly, she had a number of conditions that just were not conducive for her to be surviving here. She exited, but she planted seeds within you, Patty, within her mom, her father, all other people. That was part of her purpose. And then it was about her soul growing from that. That must have been tremendously hard for her. The pain, the poking, the prodding, right? Yet she did it. Graham, wonderful, handsome looking guy. And he just fell off a higher elevation, landed and was gone. I can't explain it any other way. And the gifts that he's brought forward to his mom and the growth that he's made. And I do want to see if I can get Sherry up here in the corner to say hello. So I know Sherry's lost a spouse, what, a year or so ago? Am I right? How long has Manny been gone, Sherry?
14 months.
14 months. And I know it's been tremendously difficult for you. And I know I also haven't seen you for about 6 months now here. But he's got you to really learn about the afterlife, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I don't know, Pam. When he first died, you said, with me crying and that, he wouldn't come to me as much. But I felt him all the time. And now that I'm getting a little bit better, I don't feel him like I did when I was crying all the time. Even though I ask him all the time, Because at nighttime I could feel him on me, and I know I wasn't imagining it. But now that he's not, then I don't feel like he's here around me anymore. I'm thinking, what was I just imagining it or hoping it was him?
Sherry, you're going to go through phases of feeling him and not feeling him. And I bet you some of the other people who are here who've had losses or worked with mediumship are going to tell you that. Okay. And when you're in tremendous emotion, it makes it difficult for him to come close to you.
I know, that's why I feel like he should be here all the time now, because I'm doing better. And like when I know that he's there, it makes me feel better. And I think, okay, he's still here with me. But probably in the last couple months, I haven't felt him. I haven't found my dimes that I always ask him for. And I think I'm not crying, so it should be easier for him to come to me.
Well, do you understand that he's finding some things he's got to do on the other side too?
Yeah, but they say they can be in a lot of places at once.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Does anybody else want to say something to Sherry, please? Go ahead, Patty.
Okay.
Patty, unmute yourself, hon.
There. I do some mediumship also, Sherry. But what I was getting when you were talking, you're saying you're better now, you're not as upset, and he's not coming through as much. That was exactly what I thought, Pamela. He's busy on the other side. They have jobs to do. Some of them have jobs to do. Some of them are learning things like in school. So it could be that he's just tied up doing things, but believe me, he'll never forget about you because love never dies. It lives
you.
on.
Thank
He'll be
you.
back in touch. So don't ever feel like, don't ever give up. He'll be back in touch with you. This phase is like Pamela said, you know, he'll be
And,
back.
and he's still there. And he loves you tremendously, dear.
But I'm mad at him right now because he's not.
That's healthy. Sweetheart, that could be a piece. He's trying to help you get some of that anger up. Do you comprehend that?
Yeah.
He's helping you heal, and he knows what you're going through. Being on the other side, I like to say they can see past, present, and future. Okay? And he knows how difficult it is for you to be feeling the feelings, but you need to do it to get through it. Okay?
Mhm. Thank
All
you.
right. All right. Does anybody else have something they'd like to share with Sherry, please? No, that's okay. Sherry?
Oh,
Please.
I will. I'll
Go
throw my
ahead.
head in. I'll throw my head in the ring.
Okay.
When Walter passed, he used to talk to the kids all the time in their sleep.
Okay.
And one day I asked my granddaughter, "Does Uncle Walter talk to you? You know, has he come by?" And she goes, very matter of factly, "He's busy, you know, he's got a job." And I went, I kind of like wrote it off as, you know, 9-year, well, she was 6, so 6-year-old. But I had a reading. I didn't tell anybody that. And the woman said to me, "He must be very important because he's already working. So, you know, maybe your husband also has some very important gift and he's working." And my thought is that obviously he's not left you, but I think he's trying to reach you in a different way.
Thank
But
you.
don't, because you're not, you're so used to feeling him when you're so upset. Because sometimes I literally feel like this big hug when I'm sleeping. I can just feel it from my head to my toes, and I just bust out in goosebumps. And I know somebody is there just comforting me, and I just go right back to sleep. But that doesn't happen very often. So I don't want you to miss the other signs he's giving you, because they're going to be there. But it's going to happen. These waves are going to hit you sometimes, and they're just going to knock you right over. And you never know when they're going to come. you just never know. And it's a very natural feeling. So
Lori, thank you. Awesome. Awesome. And you're still, he's been gone 14 months. That's a little over a year. That's still a real new loss. Okay? And I know that the two of you, and from communicating with you before, that how close the two of you were when he was here. And that I even felt that there was a real strong possibility that you were twin flames. Okay? And I know one other twin flame here, or twin flame couple here, Clarion and her son Graham. And that's a challenge, very challenging relationship to have with another soul. Okay?
Thank you.
Right. Okay.
And also, Pamela, I want to say it's 14 years for me. And Sherry, it really hasn't been till like this past year that I think it's just such a process. And it's a lot more gentle now, not nearly as excruciating in those early years. So just trust that you won't always be feeling this way.
Thank you.
It's hard to believe when you're in it at the moment.
How old was Manny when he crossed, hon?
76.
Wow.
A young 76.
He's older than you. I didn't realize that.
17 years.
Okay. And you two were together how many years?
20.
That's awesome to spend that much time with someone. Okay. He still loves you. You may not feel him as often or as intensely, but he's helping you to go through this. And he's also helping himself in what he's learning on the other side. And that's perfect. Thank you, Lori, from the mouth of babes. That's perfect. Sharing. He's got a job on the other side, don't you know that? I mean, it's perfect hearing from a 6-year-old. So I get, anybody else want to share anything here? We're going a little bit over time here, and that happens on occasion. Any hands? And I do want to say that we send some great, all of us are sending hugs to Sherry.
yes.
A lot of love and healing, because we all know, we've all experienced loss sometime in our life, and it's not an easy thing. It is very difficult. And know that if you reach out to one of us, we'll gladly listen and be of support to you. Some of us I know you do connect with, and but we're here. And let's go back again to, it's like, why did you have to leave so soon? I mean, even 76, it's like, gee, you could have stayed till 90 or 100. Why did you leave then? Or like little Valerie or Graham at 22. The implications here are really, it's about their growth, but a lot of times it's about ours. What we're learning from them, or we're learning through their crossing. I know Judy A, you lost a sister a month or so ago, and that you spent a fair amount of time helping her through her, while she was hospitalized and while she was sick. And I want to say it really touched you because the two of you were so close. It was difficult, but you grew through that, didn't you, hon? She taught you a lot.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Right. And I also want to mention Terry. And Terry there, and Terry is Sherry's sister. Since Manny's crossed, you've learned tremendously, haven't you? Of how to support your sister through it, and when times to step back. But I also, may I say anything else, that you're also got somebody else with health issues that you're watching right now? And we can send you some prayers to help you through that. But you're learning from that experience too, aren't you, sweetheart? It's not easy, is it?
No, and thank you. I appreciate it. It's
Yeah. I'm sending some big hugs. And if you want to say anything else now, it's up to you. Otherwise, we can, and just know if you want, reach out to me. We can talk too sometime if you need to. All right. Death.
Can I just throw out there,
What?
that we we worry about our loved ones on the other side. You know, they just, I don't know, like floating around. Are they lost? What are they doing? But Walter and Graham have met up. They have hung out, and they are very sarcastic and funny with each other.
Yep.
And the messages that we get back, that, you know,
Yep.
they were like tit for tat. And Walter said, well, I'm the taller one, because Walter was 6'8". And Graham says, yeah, but I'm more attractive with the blonde hair. So, you know, it's nice to know that they meet other people that they never would have otherwise on the other side. So I think that that's part of their learning process also. Because, I mean, Walter was not a wallflower, and I don't think Graham was either.
No.
But I just,
it helps us to learn how interconnected we actually all are.
Right.
Here and on the other side, right?
right.
And they're not in pain anymore. They're not suffering. And you just pointed out, Lori, some humor from them,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yeah. Sherry, did your husband have a sense of humor?
You're
Yeah,
muted.
it was like he had a quiet sense of humor.
Okay.
Mhm.
Walter,
His
well,
humor-
I was gonna
Go
say
ahead.
Walter's was demented, but he wasn't real quiet about it, so maybe they should like look each other up.
May
So-
I say something real quick?
Sure. Who am I
well,
talking? Is it
This
Jody?
is dear girl, Jody, yes.
Thank you.
I just want to say about meeting up. That's very interesting topic. And I know through my twin flame
Okay.
that his mother and my mother have met up, and they spend a lot of time together. And they're two women who I was so surprised to find that my twin flame's mother is so much like my mother. And so it's just wonderful to know that, you know, they met up together, and it's just, I wanted to just share that.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Anybody
Well,
else?
and that we don't ever really end. Death is not a finality.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Suzanne
And-
has her hand up. too.
Go ahead. Who else wanted to share?
Suzanne.
Suzanne had her hand up. Go ahead. Unmute, honey. Left-hand corner. Got it.
Okay,
Well,
great.
Oh, great. Now
So-
I hear your
Thank
voice.
you.
Welcome.
Yes, very good. So my brother who had passed, I just wanted to share this with Sherry. Before he passed, he had said to me a simple statement like, I had lost a cat. And he kept saying to me, it will get better in time. It will get better in time. So when he passed, I was thinking, wow, he was saying that to me really strongly. And I think part of it was he was meaning it for him as well, I think. But it's interesting because I definitely felt that there was lessons in his passing that have taught me like tremendous amount. And in these last 2 years of COVID, I feel like, it's our introspective time now. And I go, oh my God, it just like blew my mind. Like he taught me, it was like he had bipolar disorder and he was not treated well from his own family. And I watched as the youngest and I watched all the things that happened. I go, this isn't right. This isn't right. And I learned now to speak my truth and to speak strong, not be afraid, be brave. And when your intuition is there, don't set it aside and say, oh, I'll wait, I'll be passive about it. That intuition is to be there for you, to listen and not to shove it aside and say, well, I'm just going to be diplomatic. You need to listen to that intuition, because some things about certain people were bothering me. And not to put anyone else, another being down, but their motives and intent, it made me really open up to looking for those, who's your tribe. But really, when you pick these things up and they're not necessarily positive, take it for that. And not everything is positive, of course, but he was a very strong, intuitive person himself. And sometimes I feel that his messages come through to me and he says, no, you need to stand up and speak. Diplomacy is good, but sometimes you need to speak your truth. And with pain of loss, it does get easier. I think when you meditate before you go to bed and you relax and even do self-hypnosis, maybe they can come through in your dreams.
Yeah.
Your dreams. Yeah.
Yeah. And, simply before you go to bed, if you're feeling centered and you just ask them, please come visit me in my dreams. And that when the time is right, and that's another piece.
Yes.
Is you've got to be centered, and they have some work they're doing to acclimate themselves to the new energies of the spirit side of life. Depending upon how they crossed, I actually believe that they do. Sometimes they go to like a hospital type setting where they're needing to kind of recoup, and that they need that extra time before they can communicate.
The transition.
So yes, because I don't remember. I've done it many times. We've all done it many times, crossed over, but the experience, each one's going to be different.
Yeah.
And to remember that, and then to know that, okay, our loved ones here, they're going to help us through it. That's another piece that's so important here. But I want to thank everyone. Are you complete, Suzanne?
Yes.
Thank you for speaking. Where are you at, dear?
Massachusetts.
Oh, really? What part?
I live in near Hopkinton, Milford, off 495.
Okay. I was born in Newton. So I'm from Massachusetts, for those people who didn't know.
I'm in Methuen.
You're in Methuen, that's right.
Methuen.
Okay. Judy G is all New Hampshire now, right? I
Yeah.
think so. Okay, she was in Mass. Okay.
I
So-
was in Mass too.
Okay.
Right in Boston.
All right. Donald, do you have anything you want to say before we close? You just been a good listener tonight?
Just been a listener tonight.
Okay. All right. Anybody else quick want to say something? We've gone a little bit over, but that sometimes happens, and I let it go because people need to share.
I just wanted to
Okay, Nancy, thank you.
just wanted to say thank you. It's been very horrible. Level of grief, the last, another person dying was like the fifth person for my husband. He said he had to get off. He wanted to stay and listen. So he said, this is so nice. Just the people being able to share. He said, I'm not strong enough because it's too soon, but I think this is wonderful. I just think everybody's so raw. It's just really important because people say, the one thing I think people say to you is, if you need anything, let me know. Do you really think somebody's going to call you? You really, it's not, people mean well, but this just felt really good. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you. And what's your husband's first name? Can you share that?
Sure, it's Patrick.
Patrick. Okay, so we're gonna put I'll send some positive energy out to Patrick because of all that he's going through, and hopefully we'll get to connect with him a little more so in another time. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. All right.
Nancy was so right about that, Pamela, because nobody's gonna call and say, yeah, you know, I can really use a casserole. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just doesn't work like that. You know,
No,
could you clean
no.
my house? Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Right.
you know, I remember when my cousin's daughter passed away.
Yeah.
She doesn't remember literally like a couple of weeks. She says, I don't know how I functioned. I just did. She
Right.
said, but people would ask me what I needed. She was like, I don't know. They said, well, you need to eat. She said, then feed me. What do you want? She goes, I don't know. Just put something in front of me.
Mhm.
Just do it for me. I
Right.
shouldn't have to ask.
Right.
And I think
Right.
people forget that. So,
Yeah.
because for
Yeah.
them, life goes on. It doesn't change for them.
Well-
It's only us.
And the other thing that's important to say, everybody has their experience in grief in a different way. We all, sometimes we turn within, other times we, the list goes on and on. And there's no real specific. Yes, there's anger. Yes, there's sadness. Yes, we're hurting. I mean, the list, but it's all a process, and it's your personal process. Patty?
Just something really quick too that people seem to forget. There is no time limit on grief.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. And nobody should tell you there is.
Right.
That's another piece.
Right.
That's right.
No, and you should not listen to somebody else saying, oh, I lost such and such, and it only cost, and I was only grieving for a couple of years. It
Mm,
can't compare. You cannot compare one person's loss to another.
No.
And that is so true.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank everyone who came forward here tonight to be with us. And is anybody, Judy G, do you want to share anything there, or are you just okay?
Where would she go?
I don't know. Her screen went black.
Oh. Just one more thing. My cousin, who is a very smart
Okay.
woman.
Wait a minute. Judy G's trying to talk. Hang on.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Wonderful.
I lost my dad last week.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
All the, I've had major losses all along. I've had my son die about a year ago. I've lost my mother. I've lost my husband. Many, many people. Every good friend I had 5 close friends. They've all died. So this grief, my dad, is a combination of everything.
thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Wow.
Not one, which one can I say is the hardest? I think losing a child is, I thought losing a husband was awful, but losing a child goes beyond. And I know I will recover from this also, but it's like my energy is gone, totally gone.
Judy, thank you for at least speaking up a little. I did hear that you had lost your dad and somehow didn't connect that piece of losing dad that was to you. Thank you for sharing, and we'll keep send some good thoughts to you too, dear, to help you get through these things. All right. All right. And I'm glad you were able to be here and listen, and just to help confirm to you that you're not the only one that's losing people left and right too.
No, I
You
understand.
know? Yeah. So, and I hope to see you again. So thank you. Okay. And I'm going to close. We did go over a little bit, but I felt people people needed to share and, take a space in this show tonight. And yes, when we lose people young, there's usually some real big lessons that they're learning, but also that we're learning from them. any age is gonna be, we're gonna learn something. And it's tremendous, it's powerful. But seeing it from that soul level and understanding at that higher level it shows you what I want to say the universe has created for you, what this other person has chosen to be there for you, or you be there for them. It is huge. So take care, everyone. Please remember, yeah, we've got a group here. A lot of people are missing people, but the other piece is there's a lot of hurt and pain going on out there. So please just send some good thoughts out to a lot of them. Okay. I personally don't know how much news is real news and what's fake. I kind of, that's where I'm at. I do want to say we're doing a purging here on the planet.
Yeah.
And sadly, a lot of the people who are leaving can't handle the new vibrations coming in, okay? But they're helping us to remain here and to grow and being the best that we can be, okay? Big hugs to everybody. Bless you. And hope to see you next week. Real quick, tomorrow night for those pet lovers, animal lovers, Pet Detectives radio show. Depends on, I started at 5 here in Arizona. I believe East Coast is 7. Figure out your time if you want to join us. And June Evans and I, who's also an animal communicator, pet detective, we're going to talk about some of the animals that work with us as guides and help us to find lost pets. And the following week, we will talk about the story of Layla. Cute little, I believe she's a Labrador
Black lab.
mix. And she's only 4 months old, and she was, anyway, we helped find her, and the story of what happened in that experience. That'll be an interesting show. So bless you. This show will be recorded and be in my YouTube channel sometime later. Pamela Marie Edmunds YouTube channel. If you go there, please click the button, subscribe. That way you'll get more announcements of some of the upcoming recordings. If you want to connect with me, PamelaMarieEdmunds.com. All right. Hugs, love, take care.
Thank
Be
you.
well and safe.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Great to see everybody.